Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I am your host, AD Walker, the pusher, the grower, the motivator. Appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for being a part of another great broadcast. Today is Mental Health Wednesday. We are here with none other than Matt Genius, aka Grateful Genius, in the building. So you know what we do. It's time to share. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. Make sure you tagging, letting everybody know that the brothers are in the building. Um, so blessings, Lisa. Hey, welcome, welcome, Jeff, in the building. I swear, I was just wondering. what, um, and Keita in the building. So listen, share, share, share. So we're gonna go ahead and get started and make this thing happen. Um, change the music a little bit. So listen to a little bit, maybe still elevate a like. I try to hype it up a little bit, just a little bit. Don't want to get you too hyped. Um, just wondering if you. Oh, you said just wondering if he was coming on. I'm not that late. Don't do that. Don't do that. By 9:05, okay, maybe you can start wondering. 9:10, you like, what's this brother's doing? But let's go. Let's go.
You're watching the Brothers of Legacy. We don't stand out. We stand up.
Bam!
Yo,
Building. Good morning, everybody.
what it is, what it do?
Morning.
What up, though? Like my boys in Detroit.
What up, though?
What up, though?
Where they at, though? Where they at?
Good
Good morning.
guys.
Happy week,
Good to see you
everybody.
guys. Good morning. Good morning.
All is
Man,
well.
what it is, fellas? How y'all feeling
right.
this morning, man?
All is
Wonderful.
well. All is well. So, okay, we got Grateful Genius in the building. You know, it's Mental Health Wednesday.
That's what I'm talking
We
about.
got Pastor
Hey,
Corey in the building, aka Killer B, aka we have Kaneem in the building, aka The Locks, aka Making It Happen. All right, so let's see. And we're gonna get it going. Appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys for being a part of another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. Here we go. Looks like Spectrum is acting right today. Of course, before we get started,
don't jinx it, man. Don't jinx it, bro.
I know
Boy,
don't
time
jinx
for
it.
Spectrum.
Just go on with the program. Don't jinx it.
Before we get started, of course, we can't ignore the elections that happened yesterday. Hopefully, you guys voted. We know some of the outcomes. Stacey Abrams did not get the governorship again this year, so I didn't watch the what do they call it? The concession speech. So I'm not sure what her next moves are. Usually, they don't talk about it too much, unless it's something bad, we're gonna fight this thing, unless it's that speech. Outside of that, it's just you don't know the next move because I can imagine or I can't after all that work and to lose out, I know it's got to be very disheartening. As we know, Walker and Warnock, I think they're going into a runoff, if I'm not mistaken, unless something has changed within the last couple of hours. I knew that was going to happen. I was honestly looking for Walker to win, unfortunately, because it's Georgia. And if you look at, and before I really knew the makeup of the state, someone showed a map like on screen with the colors, like the blues and the reds. And literally, like, if you look at my wall, this would be like Georgia. The whole wall is Georgia. And that my sign right there represents all the Democrat districts. So yeah. So you do the numbers and the math. So when they had the blue wave, I was like, we just kind of eked it through. We just got people when they just didn't like the other person. That's all that was about. So that's where we at. I was kind of leaving where if anyone wanted to share anything or just express anything at this moment. Just I didn't want to glaze by it. What's up, Mama Corey? Good morning. Good morning. And that's it. We good? All hearts and minds are clear? No? Anybody want to say?
I just want to say thank you to every person that exercised their civic duty to go out and express themselves.
Yeah.
I think the greatest part of being in this country is the ability to let your voice be heard.
Right.
Even if you don't get the outcome that you desired, you participated.
Right.
And that's what's important more than anything.
And
the rest of the rhetoric around Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock, I won't entertain except to say this. To your point, AD, when you look at the mapping of Georgia, it's hard to envision blue winning anything.
Right. Yeah.
It's not impossible.
Not impossible because it's happened, but it's just you just got to.
But it lets you know how much work.
Yeah.
People have to do to. It's difficult for me to have this conversation simply because of, because I have conservative values.
Right.
Right. But that doesn't make me part of GOP.
Right.
I have a social conscience.
Right.
Which doesn't paint me completely blue.
Right.
So I have to focus on policy.
Right.
And that's how I vote. I vote my conscience,
Right.
But clearly there's a lot of work to be done in Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, and kind of, how it just kind of runs around, but how we parlay and talking about our conversation today is where you're from or how you were raised, get into the space of, the area you come from, the way you think, or is it the things that are said in your home that makes a difference? Because I grew up in, well, I won't say a conservative home, because my mother drove a witness, so they don't vote, so political talk from her mouth wasn't coming. I don't care. I'm going to the hall. I'm going, so it was never really talk. My dad was, and based on, my grandmother died when I was younger, but they used to argue, and from knowing my dad, he was conservative. I'm sure my grandmother was more Democrat or liberal. So they were always, especially during the Reagan years, always arguing. So it's where I grew up, how, certain things, but moving out of the house, right, Reese, I know, but I couldn't ignore it, but we're not going down all the way down that hole today. But it is a conversation we're going to have. So, but I wanted to kind of bring it up because I just didn't want to glaze over it. Just like, certain things happen, the day before. We've had things happen the day before. I had a topic and I throw it away. It was like, we can't ignore this thing. But just for how you grow up and the things that you learn. And for me, my eyes opened more once I became an adult, started actually living out in the world and seeing like, oh, kind of had that wrong. Had this idea about certain folks, had this idea about how other people live, or things of that nature. So it opened up my thought process, and the problem is, and maybe Matt can kind of speak to this. Sometimes the labeling of your thought process, right? Because I believe a specific thing that makes me this thing, like. Because I kind of believe this, like even the switching it up a little bit, the introverted, extroverted conversations, is that a real like diagnosis or just an understanding? Like, okay, you kind of in this space, this is what we need to work on to pull you out of that space. Would that be something of a real diagnosis, like the introverted, extroverted kind of conversation?
Man, this is heavy. This is. I feel like I honestly feel like there's something behind this.
Okay.
That we're not saying, like understanding, the difference between nature and nurture, I think is important.
Yes.
But setting the context of why this is valuable information,
Right.
And so, why would this be important, at least for the audience? Like, why would they need to differentiate between what was given to them genetically, what was shaped in them by their environment? So let's kind of spread that out a little bit more, and then I think we can, dive into it a little bit deeper, because I think all of what you said was important, but I feel like let's kind of open it up a little bit, just a little bit more, at least for me, so I can have more context to speak to the value of either one of them.
Right. So we can speak in a space of, because I know we, like last week was more or less the violence and how we grew up in tougher neighborhoods and things of that nature. But would you say how could we expand on this a little bit? Would you say that, let's speak into last week's conversation, like I said, and I always say it, shout out to my parents, because I don't ever want to be that dude that act like I grew up somewhere that I didn't. Like I grew up middle class. Like, my parents did well. And growing up in that environment. So my only contradiction or fights was more or less political. Like that was fighting out of my old way of thinking into an adult space. Like Kaneem shares his background, he grew up a little harder. He was on his own early. He had to take care of himself. He had to figure out what to eat, what to wear, or what to wear, at an early age. Like if I'm gonna wear what I want to wear, I got to figure this thing out, and for him, certain things happen because he had to listen. I got to hustle this thing up. I got to figure this out. So let's speak into that space.
Gotcha.
How do we, is it the nurture or is it, where I'm at? What influences more?
I got you. Now that makes, I guess for me, hopefully it helped the audience a little bit more too.
Right.
But from the psychological standpoint, I'll tell you what the book says, what the textbooks say, and then I'll go from the textbooks because what we learn versus what we actually live sometimes may kind of like point us in different directions. The textbooks would say to us that 50 to 70% of our personality is genetics,
Right.
So thank you, mom and dad.
Right.
without, consent. This is what we got, 50
Right.
to 70% of how we emote, interact, think, that's genetics. The 30 to 50% that's left is environmental,
Mhm.
and so it's both, kind of both are weighed heavy. But then you have to ask yourself, over the course of, let's say, the past 200, 300, 400 years,
Right.
how have our genetics shifted?
Right.
How have our environment kind of shifted us to be different people,
Right.
right? And so even in saying, it's nature, meaning what we received, what information have we been receiving over these years that kind of shaped us into the individuals we are right now?
Right. Right.
So you have to think about that, right? And
Right.
then when it comes to environment, right?
Yeah.
What environments are we dwelling in right now,
Right.
right? Whether it's middle class, lower class, upper class, any class.
Right.
Think about the environments we occupy right now versus environments that we kind of stood in, before we had introduction to, colonialization, right?
Right.
And so even in that, there's an argument to say that the nature part of it has been, kind of convoluted, and then the nurture part of it, same thing, and so
Right.
there is a space to say that a lot of what we deal with, a lot of what shows up in us isn't
Yeah.
necessarily a part of who we originally should or have been.
Okay.
And so when you see violence, you have to look at where violence kind of was introduced to us and how it was introduced to us to the point to where now we reflect the images and the things that were introduced to us, right? Even
Right.
inside the household, how did your parents raise you? What type of personality did they have?
Right.
Well, think about, I have to think about my dad and my mom who were raised on an island where most of their young like their youth and their kind of like adolescent years were filled with political unrest, social unrest, natural disasters. They were raised on the island of Haiti. And so think about some of the influences that shaped their understanding to be the type of parents that they were to me.
Right.
So a lot of context goes into play to where we're not necessarily considering how their genetic makeup was shifted based on some of their experiences that may influence us into where
Right.
we are right now, right? Violence beget violence. Well, my dad was violent. Where did he learn how to be violent from?
Right.
Where did his dad learn how to be violent from? Where did his, and it keeps going backwards as far as how to instill fear in kids when it comes to like corporal punishment, like one of the subjects we talked about last time as far as disciplining your kid.
Right.
How do you shape their values based on the value system that you inherited, not necessarily which was yours or how you, like lineage as far as culture and stuff like that. So
Right.
there's a lot to consider in this conversation, but I think
Right.
what we're really looking at is, let's say, a person from Newark, New Jersey,
Yeah.
New Jersey, I think, right? How they were raised in that system versus somebody who was raised in Manhattan, how they
Right.
were raised in that system.
Right.
Of course, there's a difference in how they were raised based on, the understanding that, things are different on the other side of the train track, right?
Right.
There's less systemic trauma, there's less systemic this and there's less that. So therefore their upbringing will be slightly different based on the exposure, based on the family, based on
Right.
intact or out of, broken homes. So there's a lot of influence that you can see and point directly to the correlation of how these things influence them.
Right.
But I think the greater understanding to really look at it, you have to go from, really seeing what type of personalities my parents have, where they get that from, and keep going backwards. That's something that I do with my clients. I create like a family tree, like a genogram, where they can see their parents
Yeah.
and understand how their parents were raised, to see how their parents kind of raised them,
Yeah.
and see how that system worked based on the parents' influence, and now seeing how what they give to their kids
Right.
based on 3 generations of understanding, so they can
Right.
see the broader picture of nature and nurture.
Okay. So, like with that, right? So do you feel like, and you guys, this is the part you can jump in on, because I know I gave him a lot to share, but
I know.
would you feel like a lot of what you guys, or what we've all been shaped from, and there's always a nature versus nurture kind of conversation, but do you feel like more of what happened on the outside shaped you, or more of what happened on the inside shaped you, kind of like, or pushed you into what's going on the outside?
Yeah, it's kind of both. It's kind of
Okay.
both. When you are in a system where the male presence isn't necessarily there to add value,
Mm. Okay.
And so, my father was physically there, which a lot of fathers,
Right.
sometimes get a really hard check because they're not doing what they're supposed to do in a lot of people's eyes. But he was physically there, and a lot of fathers are physically there, but being physically there is only one aspect of what you can contribute. Your mom could be physically there, but what is she contributing? What are they contributing? What do they have to add as far as value to you? And so that's a question. You could have both parents, intact family, middle class, and still come out, about that life,
Right.
And so the influence is, I had an opportunity to work in the juvenile system in Alabama, and a lot of those kids were from, middle class families that would end up in juvenile centers because the parents are so busy working,
Yeah.
so busy making ends meet, so busy paying,
so we could live in this decent area,
that
but
the
it's
kids
not.
that don't really have any real guidance. So the influence starts to become, the environment. The environment pulls them in, and they feel kind of like, this is where I get my validation from, because at home I'm not getting any. I'm not being seen. I'm not being valued in a way to where I can transition in a healthy state from a child's understanding to a young adult understanding to, hopefully a full functioning adult understanding. And so we miss those opportunities because, being in certain class requires certain time and certain responsibilities from us. And then therefore we find a lack on other areas. And so it could go either way. It could go either way for me, and context is always important. Let's say for you'd have to look at yourself and to say, what did I get inside the house versus what was alluring for me outside the house? That pull, sometimes if the disciplinary is not, if the discipline is not there in the household, if the love is not there, if the affection isn't there, the streets will, easily
the love,
easily, show you in quotations
the love or the attention,
the love and the acceptance. But even that is conditional, even that is conditional to the point to where, I think a part of it is that we're in systems that don't necessarily teach us how to find love within. And so we kind of search for it, in all these places that doesn't necessarily validate us. That you get a temporary validation if you stay relevant in the ways they want you to stay relevant, whether it's through money, through sports, through athleticism, through academics, through materialism, through relationships with women and men, through all these things. If you can stay relevant, then, of course, the affirmations will be there. But man, there's a lot to pull at, kids. And now we have another medium that's not nature or nurture. It's social, it's electronic, So what part is that? That's definitely not nature, but it's a heavy influence on our psyche, even adults. Sometimes we weigh heavily on what is being seen versus what is actually being lived.
Yeah.
And so we're being pulled all over the place, man. So I know it's still early in the morning. There's people like, man, that's a lot, Matt,
But I have a question though. You don't believe, you don't agree that because there's certain, in this generation, children are born into social media. So how can that not be nature? Because some folks, it's all they have.
Right.
It's raising them.
Right. So nature would be the things that are naturally passed down. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. You're saying blood.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying things that you had no say in and how it kind of came into your life. Up until a point, we don't have a lot of say of what comes into our life as far as both where we were raised and how we were raised. After a certain time, we have an opportunity to say, you know what, I want something different. I desire something different. But I think sometimes even in those environments where you may learn how to accept those things as natural.
Right.
Does that make sense? Meaning
it does.
After a while, this is, I've heard this expression a lot when I worked in the juvenile center in the jail. That's all I know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
I know.
That's what I mean,
all I know.
right? So what I'm saying is, we can talk about physical nature, the blood
Right.
that gets passed down,
Right.
but we now have a virtual nature,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say as well. Yeah,
the new
it's like a
media,
virtual community.
right? Because how
Virtual
young
village,
are children now when they're getting electronics placed in their hands?
100%.
And what I've seen is children literally living vicariously through what they see on YouTube or on whatever platform. And it begins to raise them. And so they pick up that virtual nature.
Yeah, that's
And I get what you're saying. It's not passed down.
Yeah, that's still
But
nurture.
wouldn't that be a form of nurturing?
Yeah, that's still
If your
nurture.
environment is nurturing,
Right.
now your technology is nurturing.
We
Yeah.
said
Well,
Because
so
it's
how do we define nurture?
if you as a parent don't allow your kids to be involved heavily with technology,
Right,
then they won't be nurtured by the things that they see on the screen.
right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
But
I
for
wouldn't
those who
say
do,
it's natural,
but for those
because
who do,
it could be taken away or given.
right.
Just like your environment, I can take you away from this neighborhood, or I can keep you in this neighborhood. I can give you this tablet, or I can take this tablet away.
Right.
So I think there will be a form of nurturing as far as technology. But when Matt was talking about nature,
Right.
you ain't really got no part of that. I mean, you got your daddy genes, you got your mama genes. Your daddy might be soft, your mama might be hard. Your mama might be soft, your daddy might be hard. You don't know which one you're gonna get.
Right.
But you're gonna get one of them. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
That's in my opinion.
No,
That's
that's
good.
good.
No, that's good. I keep thinking about the definition of nurture.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And when you say nature, I get that part. It's I have my father's nose.
Yeah. So think about it like this, right? So there is something that's called phenotypes and genotypes, right?
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
I think the phenotype is what you can actually see,
What's up, V?
right?
Yes.
What can be seen? The
Right.
phenotypes are the things that are visible. Like, listen, I definitely got my daddy's nose. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We go to Maury, he can't deny me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you are the father. What's good, Ephraim?
What's going on?
But I think there are some genotypes that are things that we can't necessarily put, that's what it is, but
Right.
it's in you. It's in you. It's not necessarily going to be seen on the surface, but those things are still very present inside of you.
Right.
You ever heard a young person, and I'm sure all of us has uttered this before. Man, I can't stand. I'm never gonna be like that person, or
Right,
like
right.
mom and
I
dad.
said that plenty of times,
And
man.
then years later, you be like, yeah, I'm doing exactly, I even walk like the guy,
Right.
And so those are the things that aren't necessarily seen on the surface readily, but they're in you. They will come out every now and then based on, you ever heard, for old school people, individuals, they had, man, you just like your daddy, like
Right.
you acting, you're behaving,
Right. Right.
basically, and
Definitely.
that's not necessarily something that you can see. If you physically see a person, you can't necessarily see all the behaviors and the personalities and the little intricacies of who they are.
Right.
The phenotype is the things that you can visibly, that's his eyes, his nose, lips, ears, bow legs, just like his daddy,
Right.
Right? But then there are things that are, beneath the surface that only, come out based on, what the environment pulls out of you sometimes,
True. Hold on real quick. We're going to take a quick pause. I just want to mention some comments. Reese said, I grew up with an instinct to critically think. Nothing I was hearing would make sense. So I pushed back a lot on orthodoxies in my community. He said, Jeff said, I came from an economically good family, but was because of a broken home, was left to run at 12 years old. Sam says, hey, make sure you got, hey, Sam. She was posting in the comments. Reese says, interesting that with all these dynamics, we still consider a lot of our experiences in a monolithic way. Interesting, going back to some Friday conversation.
Leave that alone.
even as adults, look at what we're doing right now. Technology is changing things. Indeed. Reese says, I don't know if this is true though. He said, yeah, but children don't get into that until about 10 years old. Most parents won't allow their kids on social media until 15 to 16. I've seen younger.
You've been around a lot of parents I know.
Right. I've seen younger. Mine ain't, we've kept them off, but yeah, I've seen younger.
Man, I'm talking about my cousin. He got a cell phone at 5.
Wow.
His mama bought him a phone at work with a cellular connection.
Listen, man, there are studies that talk about that, and I don't think we actually need studies to show, what happens to a child's brain, even their vision, their eyesight.
Yeah.
Their eyesight on being in front of the computer. For even adults, I have to wear these glasses. These aren't prescription glasses, These are what are they called? The blue reflective things, glasses that kind of help, me being in front of a screen, seeing clients and so forth. But it helps protect my vision because I understand the dangers of, being behind a screen, watching a screen, having a screen in front of you, and not being able to have my vision see things that are in a distance versus seeing things that are close. It helps your eyesight remain healthy. If you're just looking at something that's right in front of you, it doesn't really help. So there's a lot of side effects in screens, including social and emotional learning, the inability to be able to socialize effectively, which we can see in this generation right now.
Right.
Don't know how to socialize. If it's not on they'll be on a date texting each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, man.
And so
They don't even ask for numbers no more. Give me your IG page.
Right. And so there's a lot of changes that occur, but I think, predominantly what it has been led to believe is that genetics play a heavier factor on who we are, And so I told you, I'm gonna give you what the book said, but then we also have to talk about what we actually see. I actually wrote a book, a children's story called "When the Tablets Ran Away."
Right.
That kind of talks about, giving your kids a break from technology, having it right in their face 24/7, 365, because we're so busy that we can't raise them ourselves. Which, listen, I have 5, so I get it, but you have to make time so that they could understand that this isn't necessarily the go-to option for them when it comes to entertainment, education, and so forth. There's so much other ways to, to be relevant in their lives.
When you pull them off, make sure you give them options. Like, because a lot of times we pull off because we just hate it, right? Like that ain't, when I was a young kid, we was outside, all that kind of stuff. But like, if they don't know what outside look like,
right,
and you pull them off, they just gonna go crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, pull them off and say, here's another option to this. This is what you can do. This is how you can be creative, So I had a lot of days where we'd be out Christmas Day, everybody on their bike and doing all that. But then Sega Genesis rolled around and it got a little more real. You feel me?
Yeah,
so Christmas morning, it was, a kid out there, 1 or 2 kids on the dyno out there rolling around, but we had really got into gaming big time.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big, I'm not all the way against some of the social media. Some of it is productive. Some people are journaling, and it's allowing introverts to really have like a digital journal, maybe that we can put it that way. And they doing super creative stuff. These kids are getting paid. So I'm not against it all, but I agree. We got to kind of show them, like, too much of anything could be a bad thing.
Right.
It's just a lack of balance. It's not necessarily an attack on social media. I do have some issues with the internet bullying and all these gangsters, Twitter fingers and all. But like, it's not really against that. It could be anything. It's about trying to create a balanced period that I think they lack.
Gotcha. All right, we'll dig into that. So yeah, it like I said, too much of anything can be bad or detrimental. Like, can we keep it real? Even to just go outside and play has turned bad. We outside all day. Like 4 or 5 of us run out of stuff to do.
Yeah,
we start getting mischievous. We start just doing anything. Let's go see if we can climb on the top of that building.
For real. We used to ride to the bread factory, and they would throw away like the bad dough. We would take it and ball it up and start throwing it at people, throwing it on the roofs. You feel me? It was just like free, like it was in the garbage. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, it's like boredom. We called it creativity, but it was boredom. So we was outside too much.
Right.
That's why we saw all those fights and saw all
Right.
those games and was messing with everybody we could mess with. You know what I'm saying? We were doing all that because we were bored. You feel what I'm
Right.
saying? But like
Right.
never had the balance to say, all right, now come in the house and get in front of a book. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Something.
Come and get in front of this computer because this technology thing about to be crazy. You feel me? We was outside playing
Yes.
and YouTube was putting out their first video. You feel what I'm saying? So that's so it wasn't balance. That's all I'm saying.
That's deep. Oh, he said, let's see, let's do some of these comments. I said, in my time, back in my day,
Right.
like outside, we were outside playing technology and games were at night, right? And less time usage of my day. Michael said blue blockers. Personally, my life has been very positively influenced by social media, technological advances. I think generally it's a good thing. I do as well. Let's see. Michael says, I was anti-devices, but my kids, but the school put the homeworks on iPads, right? Those didn't have much options.
Oh, that was very strategic too, man. That's a good. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So
A lot of
hashtag Google for education.
yeah,
Right.
man. Listen, you're teaching the next generation on how they're gonna work. A lot of them are gonna be behind computers.
Yep.
Right.
Which is smart, but
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's where I'm going.
right.
Because it starts so early, and
Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep into it. You
Oh,
get to the point to where the earlier you get into these things,
yeah.
you get to a space where it does have an impact on genealogy.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's
right.
he's being truthful, we are influenced by the environments that shape us. People sometimes think evolution takes thousands of years to occur,
Right.
and it doesn't,
Listen, dexterity has improved because of electronics.
right.
Yes.
That's an impact.
Yes. 100%.
It can be reversed by removing electronics, but all the gaming and everything, hand and eye coordination,
right.
We're different today.
Right.
We are better.
Yeah.
That is an action, and I'm saying so when we talk about nature versus nurture, I'm going back to that because, and I was trying to bring this up. AD won't let me be great.
We need time. We need the professional said we need a little more time with that.
No.
Right. I want to, and here's why I want to pull on Matt because I found this term epigenetics.
Hey,
right?
Steve, look up Ecbo.
And we got to go, and I'm saying look that up. And
what's the word?
Okay, I found this on
huh?
What's say that word again?
Epigenetics. EPIGENETICS.
Hey, Siri, look up what is
And the impact on DNA, right? It deals with behaviors or environments that cause changes to the way genes work. You were talking about the pheno versus
pheno and genotype.
Geno. So on the phenotype, epigenetics says there are things that can happen in your environment that can have an impact with genes.
Yeah.
Now, it does say that they can be reversed through changed behavior, but it also says it absolutely has an impact. And there is a debate in your world, the doctoral world, with regards to epigenetics. And that's what I meant about we can get to a space where you can have an impact on genealogy based on an external source.
What you saying? I hear your words, but like who has the impact? What are you?
Right.
I was talking about. I was dealing with social media
having an impact.
It's a new medium, right? Because we're handing electronics to children at a younger age, right? And when you consider that, and you consider hand-eye coordination, dexterity, all that, we have that has improved over the last 40 years, and it continues to improve because of electronics. Okay. That's had an impact on humanity.
Right. So you're saying that to be a pro is what you're saying?
Huh?
So you're saying that?
I'm asking. My question is, why wouldn't that be nature as opposed to nurture. I get what Kaneem and Matt were talking about, because it's external. That's what makes it nature.
Right.
What I'm saying is, as external as it is, it still has an impact on genealogy.
Of course, it's
Yeah.
not to say that nature doesn't influence the genes. You can see that in a lot of different things, where you can have a mountain lion that looks a specific way in one region, and another type of lion that looks a specific way in another region, based on climate, based on environment, based on diet.
Yeah,
it's
good.
It's still a lion.
Yeah.
It will eat you.
Still has a nature. Yeah.
Right. It still has, but I think
what
we're talking about is how something that is not natural. This is not natural,
Right.
and it can have an influence on you. And what we're trying to figure out is the influence that it has on us. Is it something that we desire or need to, really look at to say, if this is influencing us in a way that we want to be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 years,
Right.
I think tech it goes against our nature. I think it tries to separate. Now, with the exclusion of any kind of medical advancement, anything that technology does to find data on cancer research and cells and all that, I'm for all that, because you're trying to better the human condition, right? Amputees, prosthetic arms, and all that Terminator stuff, right? I'm with all that. But like the social part, it's kind of exactly opposite, and of I think human nature. And bare minimum, if you don't think it is, I'm just saying it's definitely against how we've naturally done it, or how we've traditionally done it for centuries, right? We together, we eat together. When we talking about, like, it drastically has changed us in like 50 years. So we went from like dinner table to TV tray, the microwave dinners, to like, I catch you to, hey, I'm upstairs, bring me them chips. So like it goes against how we've gotten down. So, but that I'm with it. I'm with the on-demand stuff, the streaming stuff. Like, I can catch SportsCenter while I'm dropping off kids. The convenience of it all, right?
Right.
But it's, for me, my only attack is really against, if you're trying to clone a human, make a robot baby, or like the social stuff, like that stuff, I'm against all that. But if you want a phone to pop up your 5 favorite shows, or to make a hair appointment for you, I'm with some convenient stuff. But I think the social piece and the human replacement piece, is against our nature.
I don't know, man. I guess everybody on here got a different opinion. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has got their own little
how you looking at
of how they see technology. Because I'm disagreeing with what he said about the cloning part. Because, me being a transplant recipient, if you can clone a kidney, or you can clone a lung, or you can clone a heart, and it'll help somebody live 30 or 40 more years, hey, I'm all for the science. I'm all for the research.
But I slide that on the medical side, though.
That's what I'm saying.
When they try to make medical mean,
when you talk about cloning babies and cloning, people, that's medical. You feel what I'm saying? I mean, it's just extreme. I will say that, but it's still on the medical side. You know what I mean? So if you can clone ears or limbs, somebody get their leg amputated, and you can
go get
clone something and it work.
Right.
I'm all about that. You know what I'm saying? So
indeed,
I'm not going to shut myself off to the medical issues as far as technology, but it's all about how you use technology. You know what I'm saying? If you use it to be destructive, if you use it to be negative, then that's part of the world. Everybody ain't positive. Yeah. Everybody ain't gonna be
good. Is gonna be bad.
Take good with the bad. You know what I'm saying?
I slide all that the medical. That's what I'm saying. You got a prosthetic limb, you got all that. I'm good with it. But when you take the Walmart cashier out, and now I got to go through the little checking machine, that's replacing the human. I ain't with the human replacement. Now,
but I think that's a part of the advances, though, man. That's like.
But I just feel it's an unnatural advancement. Is all I'm saying.
Cost.
The human connection is necessary. I think that's what you're saying. From the human connection is very necessary.
Yeah, it is,
and we lose a lot of that with technology. A lot of that is being thrown out. With the advance of technology, there's a lot of us who who rely heavily on this, and then when it comes to the social interaction, we lose it. We're forgetting social cues. We're misreading, spaces, and so there's a lot that's being gained. But on the other aspect of it, these things cannot replace the value of a social interaction. It can't. And there's a lot to be gained from technology. But when you have a person going to the park, going to the beach on the Oculus,
For real.
instead of going,
real.
out,
For real.
You
go
can
to
feel
the,
it. You can feel the air. I can
Right.
even smell it.
spray the mist on me, spray the mist,
Yeah. Real.
Like, so
And put
that's
more
it.
into their avatar than they own real body. My
Right.
avatar more dressed up than I be. You feel me? It's
That's what I'm
like
saying,
But hold on, pause on that, right? Rest his soul, but like Pastor's son, he will be able to experience places and things and go places that he wouldn't be able to go to, or it'd be a struggle to get to certain. He can go through caverns and go in caves and like be able to experience a bigger part of life because
Right.
of technology.
right.
okay,
So-
but
so
under what controls?
Right, but it's not even saying. I think sometimes what we do is we're saying that if it's not good for everybody, it's not good.
Right.
Right.
And that's not even the conversation. We're just
Right.
trying to
Right.
understand like how the overall influence could be. Of
Right.
course, there are exceptions to every story. So I think
Yeah.
sometimes when we have discussions, it's not to say that if it's not 100% good, get it out of here.
Right.
It can serve a lot of purposes, but I think for me, at least for my household,
Right.
we have restrictions on what technology time is and how much time we get to spend outside and how much time we get to spend at the park and how much time we get, we have books to actually read, and so you have to find that balance and what makes sense for your family.
There's
Absolutely.
an attack on even education. Not an attack. That's a strong word. There's a byproduct of all this, even on education, like the writing skills. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I used to have a box, and my wife watching this, full of letters. You feel me? All them little love letters where I write to girls and they give me back the notes we pass. Like that stuff gone. You feel me? Everything is digitized, and then like the kids would lose the writing ability. I had people who would call out from work on Facebook. You feel what I'm saying? And and a few of the older people laugh, and some of the younger associates like, oh no, they called out. I saw it this morning on Facebook. It was normal to them. They got it. That's when I was growing up. That wasn't acceptable.
What?
I had to get out the house.
How do you do that? How you call out on Facebook? You just
Why do you think it's okay?
you put it on your status. I'm not
Yeah,
going to
like-
look at it.
out. Ain't been able to do it today. Showing pictures of me throwing up in the toilet. Like that's not. Shout out to Diamond. She tried to pull that number. It's not. I ain't call your last name, Diamond. So it don't make sense to do that. But like they do all this crazy stuff, and it's getting to the point where people think that's cool and it's acceptable, and they want to. I had to write a paper the other day for school. I didn't type nothing. I dictated it to the little microphone. I found out that I get papers done faster. I say more words than I can type. I
Right.
say a lot of words I can't spell. You feel
Right.
me? Like so, it's fast and easy.
More
for me.
articulate if I speak it.
Yeah. I can say it. I just can't.
Hey, do they even have penmanship in school anymore?
They're not teaching.
No
Yeah,
more,
they
there's no more
teach
cursive writing.
No more cursive writing, though.
Like they would, like they did when we. was
I've
back
had to
in
go
school.
through my son to teach him how to sign his name. Like, son, you got to
Yeah.
at least learn how to
I had
sign
to teach
your
my
name.
children how to sign their names because
Yeah,
the
my daughter
cursive
got it.
writing
She
is
was
gone.
showing AJ, but yeah.
So no more penmanship in school.
It's done. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So I don't know if you crash the internet so that the librarian can keep her job. I'm not necessarily saying that, but like it does. I'm with convenience, but it does make us lazy on a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? So like going to the library to do all this. Like I said,
Playing dog.
they had to get out with a certain tie to look for a job. Now you can come home and I can be watching Sports Center putting in for other jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different day. So I don't want to fight like progression,
Right.
but like I do feel we losing something like that. Oomph. We losing that grit going forward, man.
Jeff said Siri hooks him up all the time. His
Oh, yeah.
spelling.
All the time. I do it too.
He said, but you never know it. Jeff, we know you can't spell.
Yeah.
I do that.
Spoiler
So
alert, we know
Reese made
Jeff.
some interesting comments. He said it took me a while to see what GD was, but he said the natural progression is to go from on demand to playing God and creating life.
The life is a big thing.
Man's greatest sin is disruption of God's will. I don't know if we can disrupt it though. Let's see.
You can go against it.
That's the hooking up. He said the Unabomber talked about losing human interaction. And any type of writings except his schools today. Right. Listen.
For real.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because everything, now with the way technology is, they'll correct your punctuation, your sentence, the way the clarifications of your sentences, your fragmentations.
That's if you're not even using the little abbreviations.
He said I used to go to the lot, Barry. Yo,
and that's if you're not using little abbreviations. Like they got their own world. I done lost all the little. I can't even keep up with the little, not the emojis. Well, the emojis.
I know you're talking about the little
abbreviations, like
abbreviations,
stuff like that. Yeah, I know. I've had to look it up too. A couple times.
A lot of them, man.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. They speaking a whole nother language, literally.
I used to think I was illy.
It's not Friday
until I found out.
It ain't Friday. It ain't Friday yet.
By the way, man,
listen, that was an end time comment. That does not count as a joke. I give you, Pastor. You got that. You got to pass on that.
On Friday. Pastor was killing it, man. He was in the zone Friday. I was like,
he was in the zone.
One more. Let's go. I loved it.
They told him 3. He just kept rolling.
He kept going, man. He was in the zone on Friday. I loved it, man.
Oh man. So listen, hopefully you guys have gotten something out of this. We're talking about, where you from or how were you raised. Nope. Is that it? I think that's what I put up.
You forgot it.
See, they can't spell no more.
Right. I can't. Listen, I Siri all the time. Listen, I know everyone writes, and you wait for the little red line, like, oh, I got that wrong.
No red line. I'm good to go.
Wait for the red line. Like, am I spelling it right?
Condition. We've been conditioned, man.
So yeah, we're gonna dig more into the genetics. I don't know. We'll see how we can kind of shape it, because I'm trying to see. I get what Pastor's saying. Like if devices required your pinky to start doing things, like our generation, we will struggle. My kids kind of, but by the time my kids have kids, their pinky will be able to go all the way down like this because whatever device has, I'm just saying.
Wait here. Okay, so entertain this thought, Matt. I was watching something on Sports Center, ESPN. Carter used to work for the Minnesota Vikings, whatever the receiver's name. What was it?
Jeffers.
Huh?
Jeffers,
yeah. No, Carter.
Chris Carter.
Hall of Fame receiver.
Chris Carter. Yeah.
Chris Carter was interviewing a young recruit, a young receiver coming into the NFL, and he was telling him the advantage that he had with catching footballs was because his thumb could extend further down this way.
Wow.
Okay. He said, my thumb drops down. So he had the receiver. I don't remember what receiver it was. He had him hold his hand up like this, and his thumb was like this. Chris Carter held his hand up, and his thumb was way down here.
Wow.
His finger's messed up.
And so he said, what you have to do is start massaging your hand and stretching your thumb. And he started doing this with the receiver's hand on camera. He said, if you do this for a while, it's gonna extend your thumb down to like this from here, and it's gonna help you receive the ball more and catch it with your hands, because he talked about catching the ball in your hands.
So receivers are gonna be like that.
Yeah.
the next generation of receivers.
Yeah. What you're saying is true, Pastor. Like even the way they draft at certain sizes now. So offensive linemen are bigger, receivers are a certain size.
Yeah.
It's they run faster. Now you got offensive linemen that can do like for 4.9, 5 flat. You feel me? So, and still 300 some pounds. So, it's different. And look at the NBA with these tall guys, these 7-footers with handles like point guards. Like they didn't have KD done back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So
Ralph Sampson could not bring the ball up court.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
today he can.
yeah. So the game does advance.
Yeah. You will definitely see the influence, man. A lot of us will start walking differently because we're always like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
you
Like,
know?
listen, I've had to tell my
Listen,
children
it's gonna be a
to
big
hold
difference.
devices like up like this.
Nah.
So
Yeah,
they
they
won't
be, yeah.
at
right in
home.
front of you,
Like,
like,
right.
nah,
You gotta
oh,
hold it up. Like,
yeah. Posture's gonna be different for a while, man. Posture
Right.
will be different, you know.
so
It's we will see. You know,
Right.
we will see.
Is there any tech that you couldn't live without?
Couldn't live without. I think I could. I'm an off-grid type of person, so I would love to be away from it all for a period of time. You know, I give myself those breaks every now and then. So, but to each their own.
Look at his background, and you're asking him that question.
You know, like,
Yeah, I know I can live. I can live
Be
without
right here.
my phone. I can live without my computer.
Yeah.
I did it before. I grew up without a phone.
Yeah, you know,
I grew up without a computer. You know
I'm
what
trying
I'm
to,
saying?
and we got. I think those are the skills that we need to relearn. You know, like
Yeah.
I watch my dad cook a meal outside, an entire meal outside, like not with the grill.
wow.
You know, with rocks and
Mhm.
get some wood. You know, and start the fire.
I
with
gotta
this
admit that's where I've been in trouble.
cast iron pot.
I'd be in trouble.
And listen, man, that rice and beans with the
Yeah,
with the smoky taste.
If I had to figure it out on my
Mm.
own, I know some of you guys are outdoors
Right.
people. I had
Right.
to figure it out on my own. It'd take me a minute. So I'd be getting chips. Hey, you got another bag of chips? You, get
Now that-
you know, until you get tired, like, all right, I'm gonna try to figure this thing out. Put the chicken right there. Let me see if it clean that good.
Bro, you gonna find some chips out of the woods.
Is that chips? It look like it's done.
I can turn
I'm
it on.
so grateful for being a Cub Scout, Boy Scout.
I missed all that. I have the fire like, ooh, okay, that's burned right there. Let's cut that piece up. I can eat that.
Yeah, without
we went through
without
Ranger
technology,
training
Boy Scouts.
Listen,
would do
man.
that.
Look. This is technology I got
See?
right here. You guys know what this is? Come
Yeah.
on, man. Shout me out.
You
Come on,
can't
screenshot.
All right.
Look, we went through this,
and I made this. I wanted my kids to see what type of technology I used when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I made this. I made this, you know, so they can
See,
see.
but-
I climbed the tree, cut the wire, skin the, you know.
Hold on, see, look right there though, Matt. Look at this though. That's outside. That's boredom. All right, Kaneem, Ephraim, Pastor, what we about to do once we make the slingshot? What's about to go down?
Oh, we're gonna test some stuff up.
Right.
I'm gonna test my aim out real quick. Stop sign.
Somebody gonna get it.
Somebody eyes.
Yeah.
Somebody gonna get it.
Look,
Kids don't even get hurt
when I
no
was in the military, we did this. We had this. You go to Ranger School, but before Ranger School, you had what was called RIP, Ranger Indoctrinational Program. So it's like a prep for Ranger School.
Right.
And in this preparation course, they put you on this escape and evasion where they drop you off in the middle of nowhere, and you have to hit these checkpoints and find your way back without getting captured. Right? You have to find your food. They drop it off. They tell you it's going to be here at a certain time and all that. And you got to
On your ration, yeah.
find your way there. And here's the thing: one part of the course, we came up on this class where it was a bunch of chickens sitting outside. Now I didn't come up on a farm. Okay, seen them, visited them, but never was raised on a farm.
Right.
Had a bunch of chickens, and they had a field with potatoes, a potato field, buried potatoes. And so we had to go dig up potatoes. And they said, you need to clean these potatoes, cook them. That's going to be your meal. And they said, and everybody gets a chicken.
Right.
These were live chickens.
Wow.
And so they went through this whole demonstration of how to kill a chicken. And then they said, now you go get your chicken. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to starve.
I already know.
Because
I can't do it.
I watched this person kill a chicken, start to finish. You know, he bam.
Right.
And I was like, that's murder. Right? but I eat
chicken all the time, but right there,
Yeah.
that's
right
murder.
there, that's
I'll draw the
murder.
line.
Even
Yeah,
though
I'll
I
draw
eat
the
fried
line like
chicken,
that.
you know.
Yeah.
And so, but at the end of the class, they said, okay, now everybody gets a chicken. And I'm thinking that somebody's going to kill the chicken and clean it for us, and we're going to go cook it. And they were like, no, you got to go do it yourself. Man, that was life-changing.
Wow.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
Like, what part is the chicken part that we eat?
Well, there's one part of the chicken that could kill you.
What's that?
I forgot what it was.
Great.
That was good. That was good.
I hope
They said-
dudes don't come
But
in.
E,
But
E,
I'm
you
not
try the
talking
chicken
about
out first.
the
E, try that
little
chicken.
piece that They said
Yeah,
this piece here.
Hey,
you
wash
get
your
rid of,
meat,
you
man.
know,
Wash your
Wash,
meat.
wash the meat, man. Wash
Yeah,
the
man.
meat. That's it.
The only technology I couldn't live without is the GPS. I'm stuck on that.
yeah.
Nah, man.
I ain't gonna lie. Yeah.
I love
My wife
my.
gonna call me
my
and call me
Mac
out,
and
but
GPS,
yeah,
man. North, south, east, and
I
west.
use it all the time.
Other than that, yeah, I can deal with all that. Back in the day, we had to keep our word. You say you're gonna be at the store at 5, I see you at 5. We want all that, like, let me text you and tell you no.
Nah,
Right,
I love a
right.
good map, man. I love a good map. Trying to figure out north, south, east, and west, and
You
how
know
to
that, man.
figure it out.
Hey,
man.
do they even sell atlases anymore?
They still do.
You
do.
I think
They
so.
got all that.
Still
I
do.
used to get one probably every
Still
2-3
do.
years.
Yeah, and you need to keep getting them, man, because they upgrading them too.
They used to have them like
Yeah.
at McDonald's when you would travel, like at the front, you pull, that little display and you pull out
You can
all
stop
the
at a rest stop.
rest
Yeah,
stop.
they
Right.
still have
Highway.
them. They still have them.
Yeah.
They're very handy.
They had
I
a
used to
Thomas
get that
guide
highway
in
hard.
Thomas guide in California
Yeah.
back in the day. Thomas guide gets you everywhere you want to go. A AAA would map out routes for you back in the
Not
day.
out AAA, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sure.
Even
Oh,
with map
you
quest, you had
you've been middle class for a long time.
Look,
You
I
been
tell people this all the
AAA.
time. It's funny. I used to read a map. It was my job to know where we were because I called in artillery fire when I was in the military. So my job was to know where we were, to read the map. And I tell people since I got out of the military, I've been lost ever since.
Don't call in no strikes. man.
Oh man,
That's
Remember
it.
McNally, yes, McNally.
McNally, that's it. That was it, McNally.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Rand
I think
McNally.
by the time I was driving, I had MapQuest. I used to print out
Print it out. Turn for turn. Turn for turn.
turn by turn, kid. Turn by
by
turn. I think maybe one time I used the map somewhere.
Out
That's
of
still
all
the
the stuff
worst.
I use,
Worst.
I mean, if you don't count the streaming services stuff, I use YouTube the most. I look at it for entertainment.
Right.
I look at it
right,
for
right, right.
content. I look at it for sermons. I look at it for how to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything.
I learned how to fix my Harley Davidson on YouTube.
Right.
YouTube the truth, man. That's all. But even that is me watching other people help me
Right.
do. You know what I'm saying? Like people.
That's what I meant earlier about living vicariously through social media.
Right.
But there are people that are so hooked on these
Right.
platforms that they are they are literally walking through life through the lens of someone else's presentation.
Mhm.
Whatever they do, I do. And that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would have had to do this on three-way back in the day, I guess.
Right.
We was on that.
Oh, you talking about this?
Yeah,
We'd just be
that's how we
live.
did it.
We'd just be together.
Hey, you call such
I
and
know,
such.
it's-
Use your
We'd just
three-way
be
to call
live.
such and
Hey, we doing our
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Y'all
yeah,
coming?
yeah.
Everybody coming?
You had to call other folk to use their three-way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a three-way
Wow.
channel.
Put 'em
You
on
call,
the
you
phone.
call, you call.
The
Do
old
you
setup
know
used to
who
be
yet?
if,
No,
if
call
somebody
such.
called you on three-way and they off the rip, they want no hello or nothing, and started with a question like, "Hey, AD, did you like such and such?" It's a setup. Don't answer no question.
Already.
Somebody else already on there.
Yeah. Hey, man,
Already.
you said about Brian Taylor. Hey,
Remember
what you
when?
said?
when? I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I had somebody try to
wasn't
get me
there.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for that a
That's
couple
what
times.
it
Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I don't like him. Yeah, he ugly. Don't do it, bro. Don't do
Did
it.
they jump on? Really? Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
they don't never keep it cool. They always give it away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nah, but after a while, you kind of get used to it. And as soon as you hit a question, you just fire it back out. No, you did it.
yeah. You got to do your piece of cube back then, man.
Let's see. All right, we're
So
gonna
did
get
we
out
get
of here.
in? Did we get anywhere on this question today?
I think so. I think we
Yeah,
got it.
I think we covered the topic.
we
topic a
moved the
little bit.
needle a little bit.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
No,
Well, I don't think there's an
Right.
answer. I think the answer is both.
Right.
It's a draw.
Yeah.
It's just a draw. Yeah.
So
What would we like? What would we like for it to be though? That's what I think.
I would like to be.
Well, someone asked the question: has anything good ever come out of Nazareth?
Wait a minute.
Is it where you're from, or
How he was raised, huh?
How he was raised. Yeah.
yeah?
It's his nature, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
His nature.
I just don't want the robot babies. I just don't want the replacement piece. You know, they don't replace
but we
pastors
did
with
talk about
holograms.
that. You got to take that. You got
Tupac
to take.
dead, now he back. It's too much.
Okay.
It's,
It ain't gonna always be all good, bro.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be all good.
It ain't
I don't know.
nothing.
The Extreme was that movie with Bruce Willis. What was that movie called? Where they
Surrogates.
surrogates? Yeah,
I never seen
that was an extreme example of what you're talking about.
Wow.
I never
It's
seen
like
that.
they lived in androids and controlled them virtually.
Yeah, Yeah.
Oh,
Remember that?
yeah, now I
When you
remember that.
laid up in your house, and your virtual reality, your Android will be out there operating
Right.
on your behalf.
Oh wow, I've never seen it. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, that movie
Yeah.
came out in the
Gotta check
It's
that one.
90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
There was
that's
another one
different.
with Ethan Hawke. It's people like what Kaneem is talking about. I appreciate that, because I promise you, if there was some kind of device that would have stood my son up, I would have been investing in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Period.
That's
Right.
on the medical side. That's advancement. That's helping the human race. I'm
Yeah.
all for that. Like he was talking about with lung stuff.
Anybody ever
But
seen
when it moves to
Altered
the,
Carbon?
I think we don't need to send nobody to the military because these robots are better, or we don't need teachers. Just let this Google bot teach them. That kind of stuff is.
Yeah.
I'm not really for the replacement of a human. The advancement, the help, the aid, yeah, for sure.
But that's what I'm talking. Like when you think about, I told you all the story about having young people over. One of my children had friends over, and I saw like 4 children sitting on the couch, and all of them had a device in their hand.
Right.
Yeah.
But no one was talking to each other.
It's a play date.
Right. That's the modern play date right there.
Yeah, and I'm like, put the electronics down and look at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Get some cards out. Let's play some Uno.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. We
Yeah,
appreciate you guys for being here.
connection is key, man.
Yeah.
I look at my kids and they social cues. My daughter, she's socially she's a social butterfly, but my older sons, they kind of like they getting better. But I mean, especially my youngest boy,
Yeah.
he really likes to isolate himself. He don't. I mean, he got friends, but when he come home, he be in that room on that game, and he just be chilling. Like he don't want to do nothing. He don't want to. I mean, his whole thing is look at the new TikTok. Look at the new TikTok. Look at this new video. Look at this new video.
And see, most people would look at that and say he's an introvert, and I would say that doesn't mean he's an introvert.
Oh no, I'm not saying that he's an
I'm not saying you're saying. I'm saying someone would look at that, listen to you describe your son. It's he's introverted, and then they would categorize him that way. And the reality is, no, he's not introverted. He just loves gaming.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. He I mean, I was a gamer too, but then again, I had other distractions besides that. I don't think he got enough distractions other than that game that he got.
Yeah.
The games keep him out of trouble.
I put some of that on my shoulders for not giving him other distractions, though.
The games keep him out of trouble and keep him home. I think it got a little crazy when we was able to connect. Now I'm connecting. As I'm playing it, I'm cussing somebody out who live in North Dakota. You know what I'm saying? And we playing the game together, So I think the imagery and what it's feeding them, like my mom, when Mortal Kombat came out, my mama heard about one fatality and she was like, nah, you can't play that game.
Right.
You feel me? But that's nothing compared to what's out there now.
Now,
when Grand Theft Auto came out, it was over. So it's kind of I'm like that. It keeps them out of street trouble, but like sitting there 8 hours straight, receiving all this murder, rape, kill. I feel the same way with some of this rap music. I tried to play the card about a month ago. I'm like, man, this was riding back in the day, but that's a lot of cuss words right there.
You start paying attention to it, man. It's crazy. You start really paying attention to
their cuss words. I'm not. Yeah. I grew up on it. My daddy, one of the best cussers I've ever known. Like coaches cuss me out. I get it, but it felt unnecessary. Like, did he have to say a cuss word right there? It's just like it's almost like he ran out of word and let me just drop a bomb right quick. Like, it didn't seem creative.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Kendrick Lamar has a song out right now. It's very creative, but it's hard to hear. But he's arguing with his girlfriend.
Yeah, I heard that before.
But every word is relevant to how an argument like that would play.
Appreciate you, man. We're gonna get out of here.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's too much.
So listen, guys, we appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you, Matt, for showing up and dropping some knowledge on us. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you guys for Kaneem the Locks, Pastor, Mr. Reparations. Thank you guys for being here. Mr. Reparations, we need to get that on the ballot going into 2024. We need to start working on that. We appreciate you guys again for all that you do. Thank you for supporting here financially and just everything, just sharing. A lot of you guys are sharing. Our audience is growing, and I appreciate you for doing that, because it helps spread the word of what Brothers of Legacy are accomplishing. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. I gotta make sure he's gonna be able to make it, Mr. Thomas Cotton. And maybe we'll dig into the social aspect of some of what we spoke about today. And I'll shoot him that word that I'm not going to try to pronounce because I'm probably going to get it wrong. So hey, they keep jigging at you for supporting Trump.
Hey, Trump going to jail. That's all I got to say. Trump going to jail. Hey, November 15th, he's supposed to make this big speech.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be real grand. So,
Yeah, he's going nuts next week.
on the 15th of November,
Right.
he's going to make this speech. So, y'all look
Right.
out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
What's going to happen on the 17th.
It's gonna be him and DeSantis.
You heard it here first.
17th is going to be a whole lot of.
You heard it here
Other
first.
things going on.
Khalid
That's
says
right.
it's in his genes.
I'm trying to tell you that the federal government is waiting on him to make this announcement so they can make their announcement. There we go. Yeah, I said it.
Listen, we're gonna have a special lot. If Trump is getting arrested, Kaneem and I and anyone else can come on, we're gonna go live and I'm gonna give it up to Kaneem. I'm on screen at the moment.
I want gifts.
You said what?
Gifts.
Gives
I want gifts. That's what I want. You was right. It's a gift to you. You was right. There you go.
Yeah. I got you. I'm saying it right here live. I got you.
Hold
Yeah,
on. On the
I'm
flip
getting
side,
it.
hold on. And Reese will appreciate this. When Trump is giving his inauguration address, we're here at Brother Legacy are going to have to sit through it. For Kaneem.
Hey, if Trump get elected again, drinks are on me. Yeah. I want everybody to come to my house, and I'm going to make sure that everybody got a cup of drink. It's going to be all on me.
So yeah, I know that we sitting through that inauguration address.
And he recorded this, so he can play this back down the road.
Tomorrow, put profit locks on there. Profit locks.
Profit locks. All right, we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, same channel. Right. It's perfect. All right, so we see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you stay safe. Make good choices. I'm thankful that the election is kind of over. I know we're still gonna start getting mailers from Warnock and Walker again. And the calls and all that. I was hoping it was gonna be over. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Stay safe, make good choices. 988. You or someone you love is having a mental health crisis. That's it. Listen, and if you missed your registration and you messed up, you're like, man, I should have registered. This should top. I think you can probably start registering now. You don't want to miss the presidential election, which is 2 years from now. I feel like it's closer, but time moves very fast. Time is moving very, very fast. I don't know, at least for me. Like the older I get, the quicker time is going. Like, it's another year already? like dang. So again, tomorrow, make sure you share.
I don't think Biden I don't think he's gonna run again.
I think
He'll be 82.
I know.
So yeah, but I don't see him being 86 years old in the White House.
Listen,
So-
look at this. Wait, Trump gets a free "Keep America Great" hat.
Make sure you mail it to me. Got a PO box. Make sure you mail it to me, because if Trump do that, I would definitely wear that hat and get y'all drinks.
Wow, it's gonna be a big day. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.